Hey guys, another flashback review, and this one is going to be talking about the Batman series and the movie from the 1960s, starring Burt Ward, Adam West, and a slew of other cast members that made that series, as well as the movie, very, very memorable. A reason why I chose this to be the last action film of this series. And I say last action film because I won't touch on all of the Dark Knight just yet. I'm going to wait a while longer, probably for another 6 months. But I am gonna, touch on it just as soon as possible. The reason why I want to bring these Batman series, as well as the other animated series that I will be following after this, is because of the movies had a lot of influence. The TV series had even more of an influence. And after Joe Schumacher, like I said before, a lot of people had grown a unfair hatred for this TV show. I cannot stress this enough that if it wasn't for Adam West and company bringing this show on the forefront, we wouldn't have the Tim Burton Batman. We wouldn't even have the Joe Schumacher Batman or the Christopher Nolan Batman for that matter. A lot of the great success and failure at some length due owe to this series being as popular as it was in the 1960s. A lot of things come to mind when people talk to me about this show. Is that this show basically disrespected the whole entire Batman franchise. It was corny. It wasn't taken seriously, and it pretty much made Batman into a joke. While some of their arguments may be true, I think it's only fair to say that during the golden age of comic books, Batman wasn't taken as seriously as people want to believe. In fact, there were some very weird and goofy moments in the comic book as well. And it wasn't until probably the late 70s, early 80s, where a new editor, along with new writers, had put a more darker, more sinister story tone to the Batman comic book universe, starting with the Killing Joke, which caught a lot of people by surprise, and has basically took out Batgirl, who was actually kind of popular in the comic books, more so than it is on the TV series. You had Frank Miller's Dark Knights. You also had Death in the Family. So it really was until like the late 70s, early 80s that Batman started to take a dark turn in the comic series. Other than that, it was just as campy and cheesy as it was when the comic first came out. In fact, there was a lot of stuff that I was actually surprised that was introduced in the comic book that people seem to fail to mention. Only that the fact that they're basing it on the movie versions and haven't really looked fully into the history of Batman and how he came to be. You'd be amazed at how many stuff that's out there that people choose to forget or choose not to remember. I will say this though, in terms of the TV show, while it is goofy at times, it was also dark. I mean, there was some stuff that happened in the TV show that caught me by surprise. In the very first episode, when he was facing the Riddler, Robin got captured and he's actually turning this dial. I'm thinking, oh my god, he's gonna crush his head. Then that's when it turned into tune in next time, same bad channel, and it went to the next episode where he didn't crush his skull. He still had him hostage, and he had this lady breaking into the Batcave, and something that I did not expect to see in this TV show. She dies in it when she fell into a radioactive machine. Why Batman has a radioactive machine to begin with, I just don't know, but she fell into it and died. Batman didn't save her. I don't know about you, but that's a dark scene right there. There were some very action-packed scenes. There were pretty scenes that put Batman in compromising positions, as well as some goofy scenes, of course, but for the most part, especially in the first season, it was pretty much awesome. I actually enjoyed it. It was stupid, it was funny, but it was also very entertaining. And that was largely because, you had pretty much Adam West, who fits the description of Bruce Wayne at the time. His voice was very well for that part. He didn't have to change his voice. It's just how he conducted himself. But I think the main problem is Burt Ward. I don't have a problem with him playing Robin. He was meant to be that cheesy sidekick at the time, but there were some things that did bother me. One of the things that bothered me is when I actually will tell you a scene in like episode 3. He's taking music lessons. He doesn't like music. Oh, I finally like music, and here comes Bruce Wayne preaching how music is important, and if everybody learn music, it can help in world peace. And rather than arguing and saying, look, it's not my style, he said, yes, Bruce, of course, you're right. I almost agree with everything Bruce Wayne is saying. Like, Bruce Wayne can't do no wrong. And that always irks me. I say, man, go backbone and say something, for Christ's sakes. When they went to the pole, they usually in the first season, you actually see it, they had signs saying Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, to go down the pole. And I'm like, why do they have that? That don't make no sense whatsoever. A friend told me there was a legitimate reason for that. Being there, there was report that Adam West was drunk and he didn't know which pole to go to, so they put the sign up. That's fine by me. I just find it kind of weird. I think they stopped doing it, I think, after season 2 and after the movie came out. But there was a lot of stuff there that didn't make many sense. But in all cases, it was still fun, and the villains, for the most part, were awesome. Penguin, Riddler, Joker, awesome villains in this. Of course, you have some of the made-for-TV villains like Egghead, King Tut. Those guys were pretty much you can live without them, but they was just there to be there. You have other villains, of course, that's there that's very, very forgettable. But for the most part, the villains that were there, the most important ones, they rock. They were great. I had fun with this show. I had a tremendous time with this show. I think season 3 is where the show really started to go a little bit downhill. They went a little bit overreacting. They gotten way too goofy, and that's when the TV series started to falter a little bit. I think that after season 3, that was pretty much the end of it, especially with the introduction of Batgirl. Not a big fan of that Batgirl. The actress was fine. It's just that she became more of a pain than a help to Batman. I think I remember even Alfred ended up saving her from peril at one time where she was stuck in a saw machine where she was about to get cut in half. So she really wasn't really much of a help. I didn't even like that theme song, but apparently that was there to appeal to the females. That's fine. I actually liked the way they betrayed Barbara Gordon in the comic books. More so when she lost her legs than anything else, because she really became an important character. And when they reboot the series, I think that was out of all the characters they rebooted, she was the one that a lot of people did not want to be touched. She was that powerful and that popular within the DC universe, and the fact that they rebooted her the way they did didn't vote very well for a lot of fans. I haven't heard too much about it. I haven't really touched on that on the New 52 as of late, but I pretty much know a lot of people were not too happy with the way that was. But that's a different story for the other day. I still enjoy this show. I know it's not on DVD, but a lot of people do have the YouTube episodes, and that's because a lot of people recorded from TV Land or whatever classic television, and they actually paste it onto YouTube. If you guys want, you can check it out. This brings up great nostalgia. I actually enjoy it, especially the movie. Now I'm going to touch on the movie real quick. The movie came out between season 1 and season 2. Originally, it was supposed to be a pilot towards the first season, but they hold it back and they allowed it to be in between seasons as a something to tie the kids over to the next film. From what I understand, and that's pretty much what I understand, and a lot of stuff you can see because Catwoman is actually first introduced in that series. Pretty much a lot of people was confused that, wait a minute, he met Catwoman already in this episode. Why is he just meeting her for the first time here? Well, there was a reason for that, and that was the reason. That was meant to be a pilot episode, but instead they did a reversal. Now, I love this movie. It's fun, entertaining, cheesy. Some of the stuff you just shake your head, but overall, it's a real good time. I really did enjoy some of the scenes in this film, and basically the plot is very simple. 4 supervillains Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, and the Riddler are team up together to kidnap, pretty much hold all the countries at to their mercy by kidnapping all the leaders of the UN. They plan to do this by taking out all the water to the point of the bodies, taking out all the fluids from these representatives' bodies that they're turned to dust. Apparently, Batman don't know what the whole scheme is yet. In the very first scene, you see him trying to land into a boat, but the boat turned out to be a hologram projection, and there was a fake shark that when you see it, especially if you've seen it for the first time, you're laughing your ass off. That's how funny this thing is. It is ridiculous, but in many ways, I'm kind of glad it's there. It kept the cheesiness of what Batman really is. You can see him punching this shark around. He's asking for the bat repellent spray, which Robin takes his sweet time. I'm like looking at the screen and said, "Oh, take your time." It's only Batman's leg being ripped off. I mean, come on. Amazing how he didn't get no injury. And it turns out that this is a shark. Wasn't really a shark. Was an explosive device used to trap Batman in there. It was kind of just one of the weirdest setups, but I was actually kind of glad it was there. I think the best part about this film to tell you about straight up, the villains were awesome. Everyone in that film, from Burgess Meredith to Cesar Romero, all those guys have did their job here in this film. Everybody shared the screen perfectly. Everybody had played an important role. And I gotta say this, if Joe Schumacher was trying to copy the 1960s Batman, he should at least took a look at this film and see how all the actors have interacted. Yeah, this film is cheesy, but the acting was spot on. I mean, I really did enjoy seeing these villains on screen. It was very fun, very entertaining. And like I said again, if Joe Schumacher was trying to pay homage to it, he should take a look at this film. But most important, see how the villains interact with each other. See how they all played a strong role on how the plot goes along, because everybody has something to contribute in this film versus Batman and Robin, where there was really characters that didn't need to be there, from both villains and from the heroes. Batgirl didn't need to be in this film. I'm just calling it like it is. Batgirl should have never been in this film. At the same time, what the hell Bane was doing here? Bane pretty much was left as a joke, and people really got ticked off because Bane was a newest character that came out. He was known as the man who broke Batman, and he was resolved to this. He didn't need to put that in there. But most importantly, there really wasn't too much chemistry within the villains in Batman and Robin. But in this one, in the film that everybody seems to want to hate, they had the best chemistry out of all of them. And really did. I mean, these guys really did enjoy the role they was playing, and you can tell they was having a blast. And the screen time was perfect. Adam West in this movie, I actually liked him in this movie. Exception of that one scene where he's talking to the Catwoman, who's not Catwoman, is basically disguised, and he brings up one of the cheesiest lines I've ever seen. This is one of the only time I think he tried way too hard of trying to confess his love to Catwoman, and it just seems to be it just feels way off in that scene. But other than that, nice fight scene when he gets captured and he's fighting these villains. He's fighting all these guys around, and it pretty much during that fight we've seen a dark scene. And again, everybody said this film was too cheesy. No, this film is actually kind of dark too. I mean, it ain't like this film is all cheesy and all comical and full of corny stuff going on. There's some dark scenes in this film. One of the scenes where let me explain this. They kidnapped Bruce Wayne. And they had him tied up with Catwoman, who's still playing the active reporter because he doesn't know who Catwoman is. And the plan was to lure Batman in, only to set a trap for him where he was to go in the spring, and the spring will lift up in the air and force Batman to land on the water full with explosive mines. He will blow up. Well, that actually worked, except it wasn't Batman. It was one of the henchmen who got into that trap, and he ran and he landed right there and he blew up. And I said, oh, okay, this is dark. Yeah, I mean, he died. I mean, there's no other question. He died in a stupid way, but it's still, he died. So that tells you that there is actually some dark scenes in this movie. There are some scenes, some good fighting scene. The end of the fighting scene was pretty good. The pacing was surprisingly well done, and I was really into this movie from beginning to end. If I got any problem with the film, is how Batman managed to escape death in some of these films. Like, for instance, he's caught. Um, his belt got caught in some kind of magnet in these in the bells that these signals that tells the boats how close they are to the tide, to the land. And you have these torpedoes coming after him, and he's trying to detonate them from remote control. And what ended up happening was his battery was dead, and you're thinking, okay, he's gonna go through, and it explodes. And Batman escapes because the dolphins, who knew Batman was in trouble, sacrificed himself. Okay, whatever. We just move on. Second one is when the Riddler was going to put another message, and he put a torpedo up in the air, or a missile, or a rocket, whatever you want to call it, and it hit the plane by accident. It's losing control, and you're saying, okay, he's going to crash. I'm going to see how he's going to get out of this one. And the chopper lands right on a bunch of tires. I was like, wow, he's very, very lucky. And then he did something that really bothers me, and this is something that always bothered me. And this is it really shows how Batman sometimes he doesn't think carefully. Or sometimes he knows now that they're about to kidnap the representatives, the UN representatives, and Robin had came up with an idea that's pretty much practical. He said, let's take the cab, let's get there as quickly as can. And Batman says something that really, to this day, scratched my head. To this day, it still leaves, what the hell you just said? What are you trying to do? Batman says, it's a good day, let's jog, and we got this montage of him running in New York City, Gotham. We just already know that the villains are going to kidnap the leaders of the UN, and instead of picking Robin's idea, which is a good idea, or even more, call for backup to let the cops know what's going on so they can go there and possibly make their arrest before you get there, you choose to jog, which makes no sense whatsoever. I don't care what the reason Batman felt to do it. It made no sense. Then another scene that really scratched my head about what the hell is Batman's motive here is, instead of going in the UN, alerting the security guards that they need to get upstairs and go upstairs fast, he decided to climb the walls of the UN building as slowly as possible. I know that this was a signature in most of the Batman's episodes, but you know what? You're not the fast climber in the world. Take the damn elevator. It's faster. You'll probably get there in time. But instead, they took their sweet time climbing, and by the time you know it, all the UNs got captured. They got turned into dust, and they pretty much now are at the mercy of the Penguin, the Riddler, and the Joker, along with Catwoman. And it bothers me to this day that he actually, I don't know, man. I had this. I scratched my head at that move, and it really, really does. Because even a kid will tell you, take the damn cab or call the police for backup. No, but this is Batman. He needs to get his exercise on. We need to hear that music in the background, and you know what? They took their sweet time, and look what happened. So that's pretty much my only true beef out of all the scenes here. Out of all this, the entire movie is that one scene that just basically scratched my head. Other scenes, I just had a ball with it. Batman trying to get rid of this bomb, which should have exploded seconds ago. Keeps bumping into the same people. The nun, the girl with the baby, the people, the three-man marching band. Finally, he threw into the water, which he should have done in the first place. But I just like the way he was just moving all over the place. The dialogue is kind of funny. I like the dialogue, but at the time, it's actually serious and deep. I guess with this Batman movie, it is definitely the villains that make this film extra special. I really do. I think that if you look at all the villains in this film, the top 4 villains in this film, you will not be disappointed, because this is what Batman is really all about. This is what it is. In terms of the 1960 Batman, it was supposed to have a good time, being entertained. It wasn't too serious, but it never meant to be serious. So that's the thing I think people seem to forget. This is a series that came out the right time for this era. The same thing with George Reed's Superman. It was right for that era. I'm not a big fan of the George Reed Superman because I was a Christopher Reed fan. When I saw there was another Superman, I was like, this ain't Superman. Christopher Reed was Superman. But as I got older, although I'm not a big fan of that Superman, I respect it because that's part of history. He made it possible for Christopher Reed to carry on and took the series more further than anybody ever realized. To this day, Christopher Reed is still considered the Man of Steel, and rightfully so. He really put a stamp on that character. God rest his soul. So, to me, I grew up with this series. I grew up with it with my mom. My mom turned this on. She loved the series, and I watched it with her. I watched the movie. I still watch it to this day on YouTube. Somebody has a whole hour and some minutes movie on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll link it to you guys. But it's very, very well done. I actually enjoy watching this series. I never get bored of this. And to be honest with you, to hate on something like this, it's really unfair. Because, look, I understand that most of the young crew who did not see or never even heard of the 1960 Batman will probably have a hatred for it because they already gotten used to seeing the Michael Keaton Batman, and also the even the Joel Schumacher's, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Christian Bale's Batman. I can understand that. They didn't grow up with the TV series, so they will not have that same nostalgia as I would or anybody would who has to grow up with the series. But I hope people understand, if anything else, that if it wasn't for Adam West and that series, we would not have had a Batman in 1989, and God knows how long it'll probably be for us to be able to see a Dark Knight on the big screen. So in many ways, if anything else, I pay respect to this series. As for the TV series, I like season 1. Season 2 was good, but season 3 is when they started to go downhill. Did not like at all the fact that they had Batman surfing. That's when it got ridiculous. Batman surfing with the Joker. I don't know. I'm leaving that alone. I know what they was trying to do, but you know what? Not my type of tea. Did not really care for the Batgirl in the TV series too much. I know that a lot of people liked her. I wasn't one of them. Didn't even like the song. King Tut pretty much is my worst villain. Mr. Freeze I actually kind of like. Other villains, I can't really. I know there's a lot of them out there, but to be honest, they're not memorable. They didn't have that much of an impact. King Tut I remember because I actually can't stand the villain. I can't stand the character. Egghead, Vincent Price. I'm not gonna go crazy. I love Vincent Price in that film. So I can live with some of these other villains, but in my own opinion, the Big Four was always had a big impact. More so than anything else I could ever imagine. Everybody else pretty much falls second hand to that. But it's a very good TV series. I recommend overall as a 3.5 stars TV series. And also the movie is a good solid 3.5 stars as well. It's a very fun, entertaining film. It has the problems, no question about it. But if you look at it as a very fun, entertaining popcorn film, I think you'll enjoy it. I think if you don't take things seriously, and I think you guys, there's a key word here, don't take this film seriously. Don't look at it as being the Christopher Nolan type. If it's not Christopher Nolan, it's not good. No. I give Christopher Nolan credit with the Dark Knight series. It was a good series. But you know what? It wouldn't be a Dark Knight series if it wasn't for this movie. And again, you guys can't look at every superhero film like Christopher Nolan. Not every film should be Christopher Nolan. I don't expect these films as being Christopher Nolan, and the idea that if it's not the same way Christopher Nolan's make it, it's not a good film. Look at Avengers, and you tell me you can still make a good film without having all the darkness and intense of what Christopher Nolan did. Avengers was a mixed breed. It had a perfect cast, and I enjoyed it for what it was. To me, it was a very, very welcoming film. I really came in there. I could not stop talking about it, but at the same time, it wasn't like Christopher Nolan. So, in my opinion, nostalgia reason, check out the Batman 1960. If anything else, you have a good time, and we'll be back with the other Batman series. But until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe.